Now, it's just coming up to 10 minutes to 8 on Newstalk Breakfast. Now, we all remember the Ireland of bygone days where Catholicism was the law and many religious holidays were public holidays. But is our new liberal side now at risk of becoming anti-religious? In an article this week, the former Senator Joe O'Toole said we had swapped authoritarian Catholicism for totalitarian proselytising atheism. For more on this, we're joined by Joe O'Toole and Michael Nugent, the chairperson of Atheist Ireland. Joe, we'll start with you first. Why do you believe we've swapped one vice, if you like, for another?
Well, first of all, good morning, Shane.
Morning,
good morning, Michael. I think the point for me is that it's a difficulty that I've had with all sorts of isms all my life. First of all, I don't have anything against atheism, but I don't see them as being in any significant, logical way different to theists. I mean, one group look at all the available evidence and come to the conclusion there is a God. Another group look at the same evidence and come to the conclusion or belief that there isn't a God. And look, that's fine. That's the kind of variety we need in life. But I just think that what we have lost is that this need for variety in our lives, the need for diversity, the need for colour, and the need for mutual understanding of each other's position and parity of esteem. And I think that the problem with isms, whether it be atheism or theism, is that there seems to be a great push from them to seek to impose their world on the rest of us. And that really is my problem. Like, I just think that we look at our country, it's divided all over the place, and this is just another division that's in it. We're divided in all sorts of ways, north and south, done in the course of a year. It's not just, by the way, the religious stuff, but we have shamrocks and sashes and poppies and lilies and ivies and palms and all sorts of things. And I just think, can we not celebrate together? Can we not get together? Can we not say, can the atheist and the theist not just live life together and just not be knocking strips off each other?
Michael Nugent, you're doing what the Catholic Church did 50 years ago. You're imposing your worldview on the rest of us.
Well, Joe, you're a reasonable man, and I would ask you to consider withdrawing the suggestion that Atheist Ireland is in any way totalitarian or trying to impose our views on anybody else. We specifically oppose the idea of the state supporting atheism. We work with religious groups such as the Evangelical Alliance of Ireland and the Ahmadi Muslim Community of Ireland to seek a state that supports equally the right of everybody to have either religious or non-religious beliefs, and we believe that the only way for that to happen is for the state to be neutral. I assume you wouldn't be suggesting that the Ahmadi Muslims or the Evangelical Alliance of Ireland are totalitarian. Religious people can be secular as well. So the issues that you raised in your article, including the Angelus, the Dole prayers, they're issues that are perfectly consistent with the secularism that you're talking about, because what we are seeking is not to replace those with the Parliament saying that there should be no God, or with Richard Dawkins reading from the God Delusion every day. We're seeking a state that is neutral and doesn't impose any views.
Yeah, and indeed, Michael, and I think you make a fair point there, and just be absolutely clear, you will recognise that I did not mention Atheist Ireland. I think one of the great difficulties that we kind of have with organised groups is that individuals within groups do not exactly toe the line of whether they be Catholics or atheists or whatever they are. So it's not. I'm not having a go at Atheist Ireland. I recognise what you're saying there, and I have very little difference with it. To me, like I live in a country like where I have spent, decades after decades fighting to protect our constitution from people putting into it God, marriage, abortion, and a whole lot of other things that shouldn't be in it in the first place. So I don't have any difficulty with that. But where my problem is that in a situation where we should all be kind of celebrating each other's differences, like wouldn't it be a great thing if we could all get together? It just seems to me that the neutral space that you talk about has been lost, and has been lost for a long time. And again, and let me restate, I don't blame Atheist Ireland for this. I mean, certainly it's 30 years ago when I came to the conclusion that for half of the liberals in Ireland, being liberal for them meant being anti-Catholic. And I completely acknowledge your point that that's not where you're coming from. But I would hope you would also recognise that what I'm talking about is, individuals and people dealing with issues as they arise.
Okay, Michael Nugent, what about that? The liberal ayatollahs, some people call them. That some liberals are basically anti-Catholics. They're far from being liberal. Do you accept that does exist?
Well, of course there are, but the difficulty that I would have with the article in the Irish Times, and I accept, Joe, that you didn't write the headline, but the headline started off with where did it all go wrong for Irish atheists? So it gave the impression that the article was an anti-atheist article. Now, I would say where it went wrong for Irish atheists was 1937, but since then it's been getting better, and that the non-religious are now the second largest religious or non-religious group in the country in the last census, more than all of the minority religions combined. And the Catholic Church increasingly is losing the grip over the state and the education system that it used to have. The difficulty now is that the laws have to catch up with the people. The Catholic Church still has laws in place that enables it to run 90% of our primary schools, which is what is, as you're suggesting, imposing their views on other people. Okay. That's what we need to challenge together. All right,
Joe, last point to you. You do talk about proselytising atheists in the piece. Who are they?
What I'm talking about are those individuals who want to win everybody to their point of view, which to me is no different to Catholics doing the same. But I think what is important for the listener to gain from this is that, like, within Catholicism or Christianity, there are left and right groups. And I suppose the point that I'm making is that within atheism, they're the same. There are people who are liberal in the original sense of that word and tolerant, and there are others who are intolerant. And it's that intolerance, whether it comes from theists or atheists, that I was speaking against. No more than that. I think it's brilliant that people like Michael will be putting forward their point of view. And similarly, I think there are very liberal groups within the Catholic Church, and I always like to hear them speak.
All right, Michael.
But it is about finding space for each other, living and let live, and celebrating each other's differences.
Okay, well, very briefly, Michael.
Okay, Joe, we have an annual Christmas party every year in Atheist Ireland because we think that's a tradition that goes beyond one religion, and we invite you to our next Christmas party and we can discuss it further there.
Sounds like a plan, excuse me. Former Senator Joe O'Toole and Michael Nugent, chairperson of Atheist Ireland. Thanks to both of you for coming into us.